It seems that this lion perceives a huge and aggressive rhinoceros as a living decoration. The armored animal is too big to attack. And then, why would you even pay attention to him at all, right? Unfortunately, the lion was wrong. The rhinoceros really looks like a lazy giant that peacefully wanders through the savannah. That's just because most of the time, he does not suspect that there is a lion nearby. Rhinoceros eyesight is just terrible, and the smell of meat interrupts the smell of a lion. Up to a certain point. Then this strange spot acquires more features, and its smell becomes clearer. Suddenly, the rhinoceros realizes that in front of him is an adult lion. Of course, the rhinoceros scares, and immediately after that, the lion is already scared. After all, this multi-ton armored strongman armed with a powerful horn has only one reaction to stress: a swift attack. The lion underestimates the aggression of the herbivorous bane. Several times, the horn of a rhinoceros flashes right near the belly of a lion. Fortunately, the cat dodged the threat at the last moment, and this saved her life. Despite the undoubted strength and bravery of lions, you could already understand that there are animals that can impressively pile on them. And probably the most epic thing looks like a lion fight with a honey badger. After all, this baby is the size of a small sofa cushion, about 30 times lighter than a lion. But at the same time, even one honey badger can give battle to a whole pride. The secret of the honey badger's success is a combination of incredible aggression and a number of extraordinary body features. First of all, this is a very high pain threshold, which allows the beast to withstand serious blows. And the skin of this distant relative of the badger and wolverine is very durable, and the fur is hard. But the main thing is that the skin of the honey badger is also weakly very attached to the muscle tissues that are immediately underneath it. When a lion grabs the honey badger and pressures it to the ground, a smaller and quirkier predator seems to rotate inside its own skin, bends at an incredible angle, and delivers a counterattack. To do this, the honey badger has two weapons. These are the paws with which he simply annihilates the nests of termites and ants. Adapted for digging, the honey badger's limbs look cute with those big pads and crooked claws on it. But in fact, it is a real small excavator, and getting hit by an excavator, even the size of a cat, is very painful. In addition, the jaws of the honey badger gnaw the scales of armored reptiles, so they have great strength. The teeth are small and sharp like needles. Therefore, the bite of such an aggressive beast in a fight can cause a real pain shock in a lion. Moreover, the brutal honey badger aims at sensitive points on the enemy's body, for example, in the nose. But the most surprising thing is the determination of the honey badger. The lion is clearly in shock. He just didn't expect such a frenzied pressure. The honey badger does not give the larger predator a chance to recover. A small but formidable fighter constantly attacks and ignores the resistance of a stronger opponent. Of course, experienced and strong males emerge victorious from such duels. They simply drive the honey badger into the ground and grab it with their terrible jaws, which can fit half of the opponent's body inside of it. Such a victory cannot be called particularly glorious with such a difference in size. It is difficult not to root for the honey badger. Moreover, most of the collisions still end with the fact that the honey badger calmly goes about his business. And the lion? Well, the lion obviously would not hurt to consult a psychologist. It looks like his self-esteem was terribly damaged. Oddly enough, among all the large predators against the honey badger, according to statistics, the leopard has the most chances. They contrast their dexterity with the aggressive pressure and resourcefulness of a black and white scumbag and often successfully strangle him. But lions, with the rare exception of experienced hunters, try to avoid clashes with such an enemy. If several lionesses seriously take up the case, they will, of course, overcome one or even two honey eaters. But the effort expended and the risk of serious injury are simply not worth the energy that lions will get from eating such a small amount of meat. Therefore, the honey badger calmly walks among the lions, gives punches, and bites inexperienced young people who are shocked by his arrogance and seem to be asking for a fight with someone from the adults. And experienced hunters just try to ignore it. By the way, if you would like to learn more about honey badgers and their aggressive relatives, then let us know about this in the comments. In the wild, the two largest panthers on the planet, the lions and the tigers, intersect only in one place. This is the Gir Forest, a nature reserve in India, and the last place where the natural habitat of these cats intersects. Lions and tigers used to live side by side in many parts of Asia, but now the number of Indian lions has dramatically decreased. And there have never been tigers in Africa. Although theoretically, the meeting of these species is possible in the Gir Forest, they prefer different habitat conditions and are too small to compete seriously. But in zoos and circuses, lions often coexist, and from time to time they fight. Usually the lion has the upper hand, as it is more adapted for battles with other predators. The tiger is physically stronger, but still he is primarily a hunter, not a warrior. However, there are exceptions. This lion clearly underestimated his opponent. The tiger fights very actively. He strikes a series of blows, but a little experience makes itself felt. The striped predator misses much more often. His blows fall into the dense mane, which play the role of a natural armor, so that the claws simply slip off the lion's neck without harming him. At first, it seems that the lion is able to suppress the pressure of the tiger with his skill. But the difference in its physical strength of these particular individuals is too great. The tiger breaks the lion's resistance and starts chasing him around the enclosure. The lion is surprised by such aggression. If he tries to grab the opponent with his fangs, the tiger immediately transfers the fight to the stalls and begins to tear the lion's belly with his hind legs. If the lion retreats, the tiger rises above him like a tsunami. And then, with the same destructive force, the striped beast falls on the enemy, leaving the lion nothing but retreat. And who would you be rooting for in this particular fight? But the main opponent of the lion is, of course, another lion. The only way for a young male to survive is to take power in a new pride with a fight. Young predators, sometimes alone, and sometimes united in groups with brothers and even foreign males, wander around Africa in search of a pride in which an aging lion rules. Young males attack, and if they defeat the leader, then their chances of survival will increase dramatically. The mane prevents them from hunting, because its purpose is to protect the throat from the claws and fangs of predators that threaten the pride. Therefore, the mane is large and unmasks the lion. It is the lighter, more agile, and inconspicuous lioness that should sneak up on the prey. Only having power in the pride, the lion can count on such help from females. Therefore, the young males fiercely and desperately fight with the old lion. The young lion is assertive, strong, and he is determined to conquer this pride and its territory. But he underestimated his opponent. The old lion is not at all senile yet. On the contrary, he is at the peak of his strength and form. And dozens of battles hardened him and gave him a huge combat experience. Besides, he is motivated. The old lion could retreat, leave in search of an even weaker pride to conquer. But the new male never leaves alive the cubs from the previous leader. Lions are great males. Would you agree that the desire to protect your offspring, as well as power and life, is a great motivator? Therefore, the old lion gives a crushing rebuff to the young competitor. He simply did not expect the hail of blows and rage. Which case, when the lions received a powerful rebuff, impressed you the most? Answer in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of interesting things that we would love to show you. A bull is not just a dog animal with sharp horns. Their ability to adapt to the environment is amazing. Some bulls can dive and graze underwater. Others have super speed. They are even used in harness racing. Now we will tell you about the most unique bulls in the world. Most of all, the Asian buffalo is known for its size. With a height at the withers of about 7 feet, more than 2 meters, a length of about 10 feet, about 3 meters, it can reach a mass of more than a ton. Not bad, right? Such a mountain of muscles is able to pull out trees, fight tigers, and be a real-life battering ram sweeping away everything in its path. But few people know that the real superpower of this buffalo is not related to its power or combat skills. It turns out that this bull is one of the best swimmers among all ungulates. Approximately 70% of the diet of this bull is occupied by plants that grow underwater. To feed on them, this ungulate species has learned to dive better than most terrestrial mammal species. This buffalo can hold its breath for a long time. Even such excellent divers as polar bears, otters, and beavers will envy it. But the main thing is that this horned ungulate is able to graze underwater. You don't expect such an ability from a bull, do you? Don't forget to like this animal. It really knows how to surprise. Most animals that lead a terrestrial lifestyle avoid diving underwater with their heads, even if they can swim. And even if the animal is able to dive, it is dangerous for it to bite and swallow food underwater since it can drown. But not the Asian buffalo. Most of the time during grazing, he keeps his head underwater, calmly plucks, chews, and swallows food. Especially the buffalo loves swamps, stagnant lakes, and slow, wide rivers. At the same time, its structure does not resemble aquatic mammals at all. The body of a buffalo, although powerful, but its legs are strong with pronounced hooves. There is no question of any fins or streamlined shape. It is all the more surprising that the ability to swim and dive makes a buffalo related to its distant relative, a whale. It's a bit shocking, but whales and dolphins are not relatives of other aquatic predators like seals. Whales are distant relatives of ungulates that went into the ocean millions of years ago. Who knows, maybe Asian buffaloes will resemble whales in some way after millions of years of development. At least the water perfectly supports the weight, which allows these horned animals to grow to gigantic dimensions. And how do you see the way of their development? Answer in the comments. Zebu bulls are very common to the territory of the Indian subcontinent. For most people from other parts of the world, these animals look very unusual. A cow with thin and strong legs, a hump like a camel, and powerful horns that are directed not forward but upward. And these horns grow in different ways. Sometimes they bend and go straight ahead over the animal's head. Sometimes they go back. These bulls have a unique skill. They are real racers and excellent runners. Zebu are much more massive and heavier than horses, but they can almost run as fast as the best thoroughbred racehorses. However, because of the not very accommodating nature and the specifics of the structure of the body, it is better not to ride a zebu. That is why zebu sledding races are very popular in India, especially in the western states of this country. The most amazing thing is that there is no need to prepare the road for these ungulates. Of course, they should not be directed into the thickest jungle. A powerful bull simply will not pass through them. But the passability of the zebu is like that of some jeep. Would you like to ride a sled drawn by these animals? Let us know in the comments section. Huge speed, endurance, and patency are not the only features of the animal's structure. Although camels are not closely related to zebu, both animals do have a hump. That's just scientists still don't know exactly what the purpose of the hump is for the zebu. Camels need their hump to store nutrients. Of course, pure water is not stored there, only fat reserves. But during prolonged fasting, it is due to these accumulations that camels can live without water and food for as long as no other animal in the world. Here's another argument in favor of saving in reserve. So, the zebu hump, although it has a fairly dense fat layer, still consists mostly of muscles. Although it is underdeveloped in cubs, adults are distinguished by rather large humps which stand out strongly on the straight back of the animal. But why is a mystery. What do you think? Answer in the comments. We are interested to hear your opinion. And zebu can growl like a lion. The sounds that this bull makes differ in uterine depth. You can hear them for miles around. What would be your reaction if you heard something like this while walking around India? By the way, zebu are not relatives of ordinary cows. The ancestor of the European cow, from which most breeds in the world originated, is the European Tuer. The ancestor of zebu is the Tuer already Asian. These two branches diverged around 3,000 years ago. The homeland of the zebu is Indonesia, but several centuries ago, this breed spread first throughout Asia, then got to Africa, and then all over the planet. The zebu is valued for its endurance. A cow of this breed is perfectly adapted to living in hot, arid, or vice versa, humid tropics. But genetically, this breed has not gone too far from its European relative, so they can interbreed and give healthy offspring, even very healthy, with excellent immunity. And zebu is also given very fat and nutritious milk, but much less than a European cow. Perhaps that is why there are more zebus than people on the territory of Madagascar. However, not only for practical reasons, this animal plays an important role in the local culture. Bulls are known for the fact that, unlike most other herbivores, they prefer to meet danger by fighting rather than trying to escape. Even large antelopes are afraid to fight with lions and other predators, although they exceed their size. The bull is another matter. When he sees a hunter, he is more likely to launch a counteroffensive and even strike the first blow if he feels threatened. The bull's main weapon is incredible strength and powerful horns. It's not surprising that given the pugnacious nature of the Texas longhorn, it scares with its appearance alone. After all, these bulls have the longest horns in the world among their kind. The length of one horn can reach 6 feet, 1.8 meters. This is the height of an adult man. At the same time, the horns are proportional, powerful at the base, narrow gradually, and the tip is very sharp. Such a weapon could allow a bull to fight off a saber-toothed tiger, not like ordinary wolves or cougars. Even approaching this bull is very scary. It seems that this powerful creature's horns are capable of piercing a tank. But where did this treasure come from in Texas? It turns out that longhorns are an ancient breed with a long history. These bulls are the descendants of the first cattle, which were brought back in the time of Columbus. Living in relative isolation has led to the formation of unusual qualities of the breed, which have only become entrenched over time. And it is all the more surprising that the Texas Longhorn has an incredibly meek character. These are not aggressive, loyal to people, and are patient even against the backdrop of ordinary harmless domestic cows. Apparently, if you are really confident in yourself, the desire to resort to forceful conflict resolution once again really disappears. Why attack someone if everyone around you already knows that it's better not to mess with you? Don't you agree? The Longhorn's superpower will surprise you. It is not associated with phenomenal fighting qualities or horns. The body of this bull looks quite typical. A muscular and rather slender animal without a hump, a large belly, or other features. A massive, but at the same time slender animal, and it is all the more amazing that it is able to withstand extreme heat and drought. Longhorn's superpower is his ability to survive in the harshest desert conditions. They can go longer without water and food than any other breeds and subspecies of bulls. And although they are known for their gentle nature, such an animal can easily fight off a predator. All this allows Texas farmers to leave longhorn herds on relatively free grazing, even in rather harsh places where ordinary cattle would not survive due to attacks by mountain lions, wolves, and lack of water. Excellent physical characteristics, loyalty to people, endurance.
These are the qualities that attracted people to horses thousands of years ago. It is not surprising that longhorns are increasingly being used as mounts. Moreover, these bulls are quite easily driven around and are capable of partnering with a person, almost like horses. Now this breed is still mainly used for meat farming, but who knows? Perhaps they will be turned into the world's first riding breed of bulls. That would be pretty cool, given the unusual appearance of the animal. Would you like to ride such an animal? Let us know in the comments. The yak is probably one of the cutest bulls in the world. Just look at his long, thick coat. It seems like it's a plush toy the size of a small car. But of course, a yak is a living being, not a toy. And the unusual appearance of this bull is the result of adaptation to living in very extreme conditions. The uniqueness of this bull is that it is able to withstand an unusually cold climate, the strongest winds, and very severe frosts. At the same time, the yak does not live at the North Pole at all, but in the mountains of the Himalayas. An ordinary bull could not only stand there for an hour, and the yak, on the contrary, feels comfortable at a temperature from which tears turn into icicles right on your eyelashes. This is not the only feature of the breed. The higher the height of the mountain, the less oxygen in the air. As a result, both animals and humans, if they find themselves in such conditions, feel a lack of air even with increased breathing. But for the yak, this is not a problem. Relative to the size of his body, he has enlarged lungs and heart. In addition, the blood of the yak carries a lot of oxygen when compared with the blood of other mammals. However, the animal cannot control this superpower. If it tries to descend from the mountains, it will suffer from overheating and too high of an oxygen content in the blood. Due to the fact that there is almost no heat in the mountains, the heat exchange of wild yaks has changed. They have almost no sweat glands. And in weather that seems cool to us, the yak will suffer from overheating and heat stroke. About 3,000 years ago, the yaks managed to be domesticated. It is still a mystery how it happened to do this. The fact is that the wild yak simply does not tolerate the territory mastered by man. He hates farmland, avoids humans, and has a ferocious temper. It takes a dozen mature wolves to cope with one adult yak. Although this ungulate avoids man, it is almost not afraid. But somehow some of these animals managed to be tamed. Yaks also fight amongst themselves, usually during fights for a female. Most bulls and other horned animals encounter horns in such cases. But the yak is cruel. He tries to hit the opponent in the side to inflict a serious wound on him. However, in most cases, such battles do not end fatally, and both opponents survive, albeit bruised. As a result, a domestic yak appeared, a very important animal for many peoples of the Himalayas. It gives wool, milk, and is used as a pack animal. A domestic yak is much smaller than a wild one and has a calmer character. The height of a wild yak is about 7 feet, about 2 meters, with a mass of up to a ton. The body length of the male wild yak exceeds 15 feet, more than 4.5 meters, which makes it one of the largest mountain animals in the world. Domestic animals are almost a quarter smaller, can live outside the mountains, are tolerant of breeding on farms, but at the same time they have preserved the endurance of wild ancestors. At the same time, the domestic yak crosses with other species and breeds of bulls, and even with those that live in a relatively warm and humid climate. Usually, crossing is used to make the hybrid have a more docile character. After all, although the domestic yak is a phlegmatic animal, it is still quite stubborn, and the farmer has to behave very carefully with it. What unique kind of bull struck you more than others today? Let us know in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe. There are many interesting and unusual living creatures in the world that we would love to just tell you about.